Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So welcome to another new video on my YouTube channel. And so in this video, I'm going to show you my evening walk after dinner around my neighborhood, enjoying the sunset sky. And yeah, it's actually my first time walking around my neighborhood after moving here for like almost a month. And seeing the moon in the evening sky and all the shadows on the grass is just so soothing and calming. And just walking around the street corner, I found this house half in sunshine, half in shadow to be really inspiring for a sketch. So the evening light and shadows, they're really beautiful, but the scenery, the colors, and the lighting condition are actually very short-lived. So I'm not going to do a full-page sketch. So instead, I'm drawing a rectangular frame, a little bit smaller than half of this A4 size sketchbook pad. Okay, yeah, almost a square. So, and I'm planning to take just about 25 minutes to do the line drawing and then watercolors before the beautiful lighting fades away. And as you can see, this whole drawing and painting process is going to be in real-time speed. So you can see my process very clearly. And because I haven't been updating this channel for like pretty much like 2 weeks, I really want to give you like a little treat of a full-time tutorial, full-time real-time tutorial here. So when drawing a landscape or a scenery, I always like to start with like a reference object. Usually it's in the foreground. Sometimes it can be a tree or a lamp or a pole or something like that. So as you can see, I'm starting to draw the lamp on the right hand side. Okay, and deciding what to include is actually a little bit more tricky because the view in front of me is like a 180-degree view, and right now I'm cropping out only about 90 degrees of the view, not the 180-degree view. And so deciding on the composition is really important to help sketch out the really appealing scenery, okay? Because when we're sketching out there from real life observations, we always get a 180-degree or even like a 360-degree view of a landscape or cityscape. So it's really up to us what to include and what not to include. Okay, so I just added a lot of accentuation to this lamp post with dark solid black lines. And now I'm just drawing these oval shaped street signs. The name of the street, just writing very tiny inside these little shapes. And so the lamp post is done. So now I'm gonna find the next line in relationship to it. Okay, yeah, so adding some final bit of details for the lamp post. And I'm actually starting with a line on the bottom. This is the line of the sidewalk. Okay, so like a little slope. It's not a straight line, so it's kind of slanting down a little bit, and then with a little bit of thickness around the concrete rim. Yeah, and a little bit of the lawn area showing in the lower corner. Okay, so that's the foreground elements, the lamp post, and a little bit of the sidewalk. Okay, and now I am kind of like looking and visualizing the proportion of the house in relationship to the lamp post and the line of the sidewalk. But before that, I want to start the foliage outline on the right hand side of the house. Yeah, just focus on the contours of these trees and using very quick and squiggly lines. I'm not trying to copy the shape exactly as it is. Sometimes it's really windy and the shape of the trees are kind of changing a little bit. And after that, I'm just adding these tiny car on the bottom of the tree trunks. And this really gives a sense of proportion to the scenery and makes the trees look larger. And it's gonna help to make the house on the left look really big as well with this tiny car here. And keep adding some more textures for the trees using very gentle, organic, and squiggly lines. Don't try to be perfect because trees, I think they can never grow to be like perfect, like cartoony look. They're always like organic, raw, and a little bit crude sometimes. Yeah, so just keep going. There's another tree here, close to the lamppost. And I think the tree was planted in the middle of a concrete island right there. Yeah, so drawing the little concrete island there in the middle, in between the two-way traffic. And yeah, so that's pretty much the structure of the trees, adding a little bit more textures in the middle after the contour outline. So just a little bit here and there. Again, we don't have to draw every single leaf that's in the tree. Just draw a bit here and there. And when you feel that you've captured the essence of the tree, you can just stop. Yeah. So leave a lot of white space for the viewer to imagine the tree. And just adding the sidewalk and the street line on the opposite side of the street in the distance is bending around, and the thickness of the sidewalk. Yeah, so these two lines are very close together in parallel. Okay, so moving on. This is very much like building up a puzzle piece. In between these two trees, I see the railings on the side of the house. I think these are stairs. Okay, and drawing these little stairs around the front side. And now I'm moving upwards to the top of the trees and starting with the rooftop contour of these two. I think these are kind of like townhouses. So several houses or families joined together in a row. And the chimney area, the chimneys are always in prism, three-dimensional shapes. Yeah, and the slanting little line over here forming a triangular part of the rooftop. And another chimney for the next house, joined together with it. And the little pipes on top of the chimney. And another triangular, tiny little triangular form. So it's really about seeing and simplifying what you see, okay? So the things in the world are actually more simple than you think. A lot of humans, they tend to, see and feel the world in a way too complicated ways. So things can be really, really simple in the world. And the simplifying process really helps us to relax. Yeah, another triangular form with little bases. Just finishing up the three-dimensional form of the chimney here. It had a brim on top and two little pipes. Keep connecting more lines together in between these shapes. Yeah, so when drawing kind of complex urban structures, cityscapes, you don't have to draw every single line that's like on the house or the building, okay? So try all your best. So that right now I think I've included the essential lines that defines the three dimension of the rooftop area. And now I think I'm switching to a thinner fine liner pen, and to add the smaller details I want a thinner fine liner pen. And maybe for the tree in front of it, I don't want the outline to be over dominating the outline of the houses. Yeah. And yeah, I think right now I'm just finishing up this tree, covering the front of the house a little bit, adding the texture of the foliage, using loose and squiggly lines, very much like writing. And then below that, I see windows and also railings of the fence. Yeah, so it's just a bunch of repeating short little vertical lines to draw the railings. And now I'm starting to draw the windows. Okay, starting from the left. Those are just little squares, big and small. And then moving on to here, there's a little half circle shape around the attic area of the house, and using very soft broken lines to show the texture of the roof. Yeah, and same for here. So just drawing different textures, add a variety to your line work and it makes your drawing look more attractive than just solid straight lines. Okay, so lines can come in different kind of forms. Some lines can be long and solid, other lines can be loose, squiggly, and some other lines can be short and broken. And now I am just drawing the railings here of the staircase and the stairs. And so far, I've been really enjoying drawing this scenery because there are a lot of varieties of lines and textures. These are more like mechanical lines, but you don't have to draw in mechanical ways. Your lines don't have to look perfectly straight or something like that, okay? Yeah, we're humans, and it's okay to make it imperfect because it contains more life in not so perfect lines. And just keep adding more lines. Okay, finishing up this chimney. And just switching back to my thicker fine liner pen. So when you're sketching, you can feel free to use like 2 fine liner pens. Yeah, I don't like to use too many because I don't want to keep changing my mind. Just 1 or 2, it's fine. And just adding these windows on the front side of the house, of the main house here. A lot of short little lines inside the window, the frames. Yeah, so these windows are like half covered by the tree down there. And like another one. So, oh yeah, and then also when we're doing urban sketching, sometimes inaccuracies happens, especially when we're drawing directly with an ink pen. So just let go of those mistakes. So as you can see right now, my drawing is not the same as the real scenery or the reference photo. So yeah, sometimes small mistakes happen, but the most important thing is that we capture the general 3 dimensions correct. So any displacements of smaller details is fine. And so just keep going, keep drawing. Don't get stressed out with those small mistakes of misplacement of windows or doors or anything. That's fine. Yeah. We're trying to create a big picture here and we don't stress too much on minor details. And there's a bigger window here. Yeah. Maybe this is a living room here on the second floor. That's why it has a big window. And some more details inside the window frame. Around the first floor. Yeah, the window outline and the frame. This is the front porch area, the front door. And giving the chimney a 3 dimension. So it's a very tall prism shape that we can see 2 sides of it. That's pretty much it for the drawings and all the details for the house here. It's not too much work. So yeah, a lot of people, they don't get started in sketching because they think it's too much work. So if you really kind of calm down and start drawing, you're going to realize that it's not going to take way too long. And of course, the more you do, the faster that you will be, and you will know how much details to include to capture the essence. So not every single detail needs to be included. Okay, yeah, so that's the essence that I captured with line work, and now I think just adding some final bits of details. Okay, so this is a really typical residential area in Montreal. Okay, so a lot of houses in Montreal are very similar to this old-fashioned red brick houses. Okay, and now I'm just using very loose and small short lines to show the brick texture. Okay, very gentle pressure, because I don't want the textures to be over dominating the outlines. Just a little bit here and there, and just leave the blank space for the viewers to imagine. And the last bit of details here and there. We don't have to know what those things are, just see them as lines and shapes. Yeah, add a little bit of hatching for the front door area. This part is hollow, this going in, with shadows there, and some more brick textures. Yeah, just like short little broken parallel lines. And I think she's gonna add another little concrete island there in the middle, dividing the two-way traffic. And that's it for the ink line work. It took me about 15 minutes. And now comes the fun and soothing part, adding watercolor paint. So as always, I like to paint the sky area first. So now I'm just wetting the sky area with clear water by squeezing my water brush a little bit and just adding this pale lemon yellow around the bottom. So I'm really kind of adding these colors based on my sensations. It's very hard to put logic or reasoning into, why am I using this specific yellow. So yeah, so it's all about my abstract or like personal interaction with the observation process and mixing the colors, adding the amount of water into the paint. And now I'm just blending on a little bit cerulean blue on top of the sky. And as you can see, the area where the blue and yellows are merging together is turning kind of into a turquoise color, which is pretty cool. Nice and soft blending. And yeah, just let these two colors further blend together naturally without controlling too much. And wetting the house area with clear water and adding a little bit of orange yellow actually, for the top part of the sky that is exposed to the vibrant evening sunshine, and some more bold orange reds here and there, wet into wet. Okay, so this is how I paint watercolors, very loose, flexible layers of colors joined together and breathing through each other. Yeah. Okay, so now the bright yellow orange is kind of fading away on top of the house, so I sort of kind of had to use my impression and my feelings, using my memories a little bit to keep painting. And that's the fun, that's the meaning of painting from real life observation, is that nothing really stays static. Things are always changing, especially for nature phenomenon. It's always changing, so you really have to be flexible and calm down and keep going, following the flow of nature. And I just added a little bit of raw umber or dark brown on the bottom of the sky to give it even more contrast of light and shade. And now I just wetted the road and the sidewalk area with clear water and putting on this leftover gray, kind of a greenish gray, the color of the street, like concrete. put it on very loosely and lightly. This is a very diluted gray that I mix with green, a little bit of blue, and a tiny bit of magenta. And while I was painting the street, I was letting the house area to dry before adding colors for the rooftop and the trees around it, because I don't want any accident happen with the blending of paint. Okay, and now I'm just adding the first layer for the rooftop. Again, it's my own mix of gray. This time, this one is more of a purplish gray compared to the street color. Okay, so again, it's a mix of blue, magenta, and a little bit green, but containing more blue and magenta. So it's kind of purplish gray. And adding some more colors. Just taking my time to see and feel. Yeah, keep adding this gray for the sidewalk here in the foreground. Yeah, so even the gray here is really helping to establish the atmosphere. This gray is more interesting than just mixing water into black paint. So I always like to encourage my students to mix their own gray and not just put water into black. Okay, so now I am just adding the first layer for the foliage. It's like a blend of different tones of green. So for this first layer, it's mainly lime green, mixing with a little bit of yellow ochre and or lemon yellow. So just play around with this warm green tone. The ratio of how much yellow and how much green to mix into one another really depends on your own sensations, okay? It really depending on the time of the day and how you see and how you feel. So that's for the first layer of the trees. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. Okay, so now I think I'm gonna do a little bit wet into wet for the trees. So viridian green, mixing with a little bit of burnt sienna or brown to get this darker organic green. And use smaller and choppy brush strokes. Spread it around. Okay, so wet into wet is a very common watercolor painting technique. Okay, that creates a sense of looseness and yeah, a way for the eyes to relax of the soft blending of colors. So here, yeah, as you can see, I didn't cover every single area of the first layer for these trees. Just let the first layer to still breeze through this dark tone. Now these trees are looking a little more three-dimensional with just two tones of green blended together, nice and soft. And adding a little bit of accentuation around the edges of the street. Okay, so this is looking great so far, but my ultimate goal is to add even more contrast so this scenery looks more dramatic. Okay, so right now it's still a little bit flat. As you can see, I'm just adding some more stronger tones of brown because the main subject matter in this scenery is the house. So yeah, I want to take a little bit more time with it. The house overall is a giant cube shape. Okay, so I want to show the tones for each side. It's actually different. Okay, this is how we show 3 dimensions. So a cube, in this case, we can see 2 sides of the brick area, and the top side is actually the rooftop. Okay, so I added a lot of this dark brown tone, which is burnt sienna mixed in with a bit of blue for the bottom of the house and also on the right side of the house. So the more you draw and paint, the more that you're able to self-taught. Okay, so now I could sense that the concrete street area and these a bit more contrast. So right now it looks kind of flat. So even the flat surface is never just perfectly flat. Okay, things in the universe is always uneven. So now just adding a little bit more tones, the leftover yellow, the reflection of the sunset sky onto the concrete color of the street. That's my personal sensation, okay? So if you're looking at a reference photograph, you probably won't sense the reflection of sunset yellow onto the concrete. So yeah, so that part. Okay, so now I just added an even more intense purplish gray for the rooftop. As you can see, I left some areas from the first layer to shine to show 3-dimension. And some final little polish, almost invisible brush strokes here and there. So around the final stage, our brush strokes can be very small, almost invisible. Just final little polish here and there around the edge of the street, the sidewalks, and a little bit more stronger gray tone around the foreground area. Yeah, streets in the world, they're never perfectly even. And I think that's pretty much it for this sketch. And it took me around 25 minutes to draw and paint. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy with the result. And so far, I've been really enjoying my new life in Montreal, Quebec. Like the moon is so peaceful. And yeah, it's time to walk home. Yeah, so today is Sunday. I'm with my friend Lara in Dorval. We're going to Indigo Bookstore, and maybe I'll sketch something there. And we are going to Pointe Claire by bus, and here's the view of St. Lawrence River from the bus window and the little forest park. Here we are at the mall in Pointe Claire. Okay, so because today is Sunday and the Indigo Bookstore, pretty much like all most other businesses in Quebec, on Sundays they close very early, around 5 p.m. Okay, so right now it's around 4:30, and I only have less than 30 minutes to sketch the scenery. It's like a little bird eye view down the stairs from the upstairs platform. Okay, so as you can see, I'm starting with the frame of the interior. Okay, so when sketching almost anything, especially like cityscapes, urban landscapes, interiors, it's always a good idea to start with the largest frame. So in this case, I started with the ceiling area and the lamps on there, and just keep drawing the broad lines of the bracket. Okay, so this is right now I'm drawing the huge bracket of interiors, like the large wooden poles, vertical ones and horizontal ones. This is like a huge box brought up in these brackets. And then all of these shapes are 3-dimensional, like building blocks, tall prism shapes. Yeah. Okay, so connecting with the bottom of the pole on the left is this kind of like a display board in a rectangular shape, and the shelf of baby clothes. Yeah, just shirts, baby or kids clothes, and then keep connecting one shape after another. So trying to simplify these things into very basic geometric shapes like squares, rectangles, and within those shapes are those details, those little objects. A lot of cube and prism shapes in this case because there are a lot of shelves. Yeah, and everything is like standing on this big shelf. This is the top of the shelf. There's different objects, big and small. And again, we really don't have to be perfect. Okay, so just try your best, enjoy the seeing process, and kind of try to interpret your seeing into simple lines and shapes. And these are like the folded shirts around the front part of the shirt. Very simple shapes. So how about making the decisions? It's pretty easy to copy this drawing, but it's very challenging, especially for beginners, to interpret what they see, in this case, a very complicated interior, into simple geometric shapes. And I also know that it's very important to include some human figures, that all of a sudden the human figure, it gives a sense of proportion to the interior. Okay, so as you can see, I just drew this lady just kind of standing. It's very helpful when people are standing and not moving still for a while. So this lady was like standing there for about maybe 20 seconds, so I had enough time to capture her posture. I think she was like flipping through the books or looking at those items right there. So that's her. And I think I'm gonna add another person walking through these aisles. And I just color the hair and the pants with black so the person can stand out better. Yeah, and it's actually really fun to add these human figures for this interior space. It looks much more narrative right now than just the interior. It's a state of this bookstore on a Sunday evening around 4:30 to 4:40. Yeah, it's a moment somewhere in the world, in Montreal, Quebec. And I'm the person to see and record it, expressing my seeing and feeling with lines, and then I'll use watercolors. And keep drawing these little shorts and pens for kids on this round table. Yeah, a lot of overlappings, but just let go. If you make overlapping lines, that's fine. Just keep going, keep drawing, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. So right now I'm not actually including every single detail that's in the scenery. That could take hours if we try to include everything. So really, see what attracts you. So I really like these display shelves. So I'm just seeing all of these shelves and little tables one by one and trying to figure out what's on there. Yeah, and really enjoying the whole display area of this store. And adding another person wearing mask right over there around the middle. And actually drawing human figures is actually fun for me to do because of course it doesn't have to be like photorealistic. It could be like a little cartoony, playful, whimsical, okay? Just do it in your own style even though it might look cartoony, okay? So when you're drawing, don't always think about photorealism. It can be cartoony, yeah. And now keep drawing more signs around the shelves. Here is another sign with a little decoration hanging up there, I think. And yeah, different shapes, a lot of squares. And here is actually a bookshelf seen from the side, the foreshortened view. But before I finish that, I want to add another person just standing over there in the distance. He's looking a little bit smaller because he's in the distance. Just so I'm creating a sense of depth over here. Yeah, the objects, the people in the foreground can be looking a little larger. People and objects in the far back can look a little smaller. That's a pretty easy way that we show a sense of depth and distance. And just keep drawing this large shelf here in the back. Yeah. Different layers. And the objects on it. Mugs. And also books. They're selling like almost everything in this bookstore, not just books. And it's really fun and entertaining to walk through this store on any day. And now I'm just starting to draw these little books on the shelf. And also other objects in front of it. Very nice displays. Yeah, the angle is going up for these boards on the shelf. And also don't worry about if your drawing turned out to be a little bit wonky. So wonkiness is actually, it can be a style. Yeah, okay. So again, don't always think about photorealism. So just truly enjoy the drawing process. And yeah, I think that's pretty much for this shelf. It contains a lot of layers and details. And I think I'm gonna add another little person there in the corner, just so it looks more busy in this store, very engaging to look at. And these people are actually kind of guiding the viewers around this picture, making it look more interesting. Okay, and just add some more shelves in the back. So again, with these bending lines to show the layers of boards. Okay, and just make it really simple. Things in the back, it doesn't have to look as detailed as the ones in the middle or in the front. And quickly add another man there. Yeah, just add a few super simple little tiny little rectangles to show the display objects there. And for this sketch, I'm not drawing any frames. So just let the side flow very loosely. And I'm going to just use paint to just wrap up this image. And keep drawing some more little blocks around the side, but not too much. Adding some details for this display board. There's like a hole in the middle right there. Maybe a little bit more around the right side. Actually, another person's lower body, yeah, or something. Yeah, really cute, and some more shelves. So these lines are actually very abstract, and I'm not thinking too much that I'm drawing those shelves and displays, okay? Because the more that we stress on what we're really drawing, the more stressful it is. So just focus on the pure seeing experience and stop, giving yourself too much burden that I'm drawing a table, I'm drawing a person, and I'm drawing a shelf, and I need to make it look really nice and neat and perfect. So don't think about those things, okay? So just enjoy your moment and focus on the pure seeing experience of shapes. And yeah, almost there. Just add a little bit of thickness for the pole here on the right hand side. Maybe another little shelf over here with stuff hanging on it. Little handbags maybe. Yeah. And I'm also trying to make my drawing time really fun and easy by seeing this scenery as a miniature world of little furnitures and people. So, okay, it's not a huge scenery. So you really need to have a calm mindset when sketching complicated sceneries like this. And right now, I don't have a lot of time left, maybe about 20 minutes. And I'm just gonna quickly add some more, like those lightings on the ceiling. Yeah. And another wooden bar, some more around the ceiling. Add some final detail. Really taking my time. I know I don't have a lot of time left until the store closes, but I'm not rushing it. Okay, so not having enough time, it doesn't mean I'm rushing things. So I'm still pretty calm and do what I need to do. Finishing up the drawing in the next 30 seconds or so. Add some final details like the maybe air conditioning stuff and more little lights here and there. Adding some final accentuations. Yeah, I don't like to add way too much details on the sides. Just let them float nice and easily on the sides. And that's it for the line work. And now I am ready to paint watercolors very quickly. So before putting any colors on, as always, I like to wet the surface area with clear water by sort of squeezing my water brush nice and gentle. And yeah, we need to put quite a bit of water on here because I want a really smooth wash, not dry brushing, for the flooring of the store. So first layer is always a bright and vibrant color. It's a medium yellow from my Etchr palette, or you can mix your own medium yellow by mixing a little bit orange into lemon yellow. Okay, yeah. And this color is also really invites the viewer to look at your painting. I really love the color yellow. It's always inviting, warm, and soothing. Yeah, just kind of add this very loosely, and also this first layer, it helps to frame this sketch. So that's the first layer for the floor area. And pretty much the same for the ceiling. It had like a mild tint of yellow, lemon yellow. Yeah, very much diluted. And moving on, I'm gonna add some pretty prominent colors that stand out really clear to me. For example, the reds of the banners and the browns of the shelves or objects here and there. Okay, so now I'm just grabbing a little bit of burnt sienna or brown for the bottom, the stump of the pole, and also for this side as well. And grabbing some vibrant red for this banner. Let's say it's like 30% off or something, or $10 each. Yeah, just a little bit vibrancy here and there. And I'm also gonna grab some blues that I see in the scenery. Yeah, and dilute it. It's not way too strong. And again, blue is a complementary color of yellow, or the opposite color on a color wheel. In a common sense, yellow is a warm color and blue is a cold color. So when you put these two colors close together in a picture, your picture is going to look very strong. Okay? And we'll keep adding some more red browns here and there that I sense. So again, I'm not trying to paint inside these little shapes. Just adding the paint very loosely. This is not about doing a coloring book. You don't have to be always painting inside the outlines. Okay? Yeah. Sometimes, bleeding of colors happens. Just let it go. It's part of your expression. And I actually found out that a lot of people give up their sketches or their sketchbook journey way too early because they're always thinking about making perfect drawings and paintings in their sketchbook, and they're always worried about ruining their pages. So really let go of those thinkings. My early sketchbook pages are actually not as good, of course, from 8 to 10 years ago. I just kept on pushing. I don't really self-criticize that much because I always enjoy the process of sitting down, could be at home or out there in a cafe, or in this case, inside a quiet and peaceful bookstore here, and just enjoy the moment. Every moment of living and breathing is in rhythm with the lines and dashes of colors. And right now, I'm also kind of controlling myself to not overpaint. A lot of these colors are actually a diluted version of the original colors from the palette, or a mixture of two colors. Okay, it's a lot of warm colors, yellow, oranges, browns, a bit of red here and there. And now I'm starting to add some shade colors using my own mixture of gray. So I always like to mix my own gray like this with a mix of blue, for example, ultramarine blue, green, like radiant green, and magenta or rose. And also just using this leftover gray to paint the outfit of these people, nice and quick, just with like a couple of brush strokes for their body, and that's it. And let go. I just let the side of their body to shine a little bit. So when painting watercolors, especially when you're trying to fill in a tiny little space, you don't really have to fill that shape perfectly with paint. Okay, you can always leave little spots or streaks to shine, so your painting can kind of breathe. Okay, so I think I'm almost done painting. And finally, I think I want to add a bit of texture for the flooring. Okay, so these are like uh, wooden planks, floorboard. Okay, so I'm just adding a mix of burnt sienna and orange, and just use these brush strokes to show the texture of floorboards, the planks joined together, and also giving even more sense of perspective. So all of these streaks are pointing towards a vanishing point somewhere around the back of the interior space, deep into the tunnel, right there. Okay, yeah. So pretty much all the time I make my decisions with some reasoning, and just adding just a little bit more colors around the side here and there. And colors, it can be, again, it can be very much diluted. It doesn't have to be really, really strong. Just keep playing around with the amount of water that you add into the paint. It can make a huge difference, just playing around with water and a limited amount of colors. And just add another quick and very light layer of shade around the ceiling area, so it's not just bright yellow. We need some contrast just to make the lamp light even brighter. And some final shadows underneath on the bottom of these solid objects, the people, the shelves. And it's actually kind of satisfying to add these shadows because these objects now they're really sitting or standing on the floor nice and stable and not just floating around. Yeah, just using the leftover gray that I mixed with blue, green, and magenta. Here and there, a lot of shadows and shade areas here just to give the pole more three dimension. Okay, so the store is closing in about 7 minutes, and just adding the last little dashes here and there, and that's it. And here is the look of my finished sketchbook page. I had a really lovely weekend by myself and with my friend Lara. So thank you so much for watching my video, everyone. If you like it, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel if you're new to my channel, and I will see you around very soon next time. Have a great weekend, everyone.